Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Friday. The weekend is very nearly here. A wonderful, historic week is coming towards an end. I hope you're well, wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. I hope you're still on cloud nine after what we all went through on Wednesday night. I am still feeling a little bit dazed, I have to say. I got back from Madrid yesterday afternoon. Long night, long day. And I'm still feeling a little bit dazed. I have no idea how the players are going to be feeling. I'm emotionally and mentally exhausted after that trip. So I have no idea how they can do it, pick themselves up after running themselves into the ground the way they did at the Bernabeu. But they're going to have to. Ipswich is just a couple of days away now. Mikel Arteta's press conference will be happening a little bit later on today. We'll see what he has to say in terms of how the team has been and how the squad has been and how they might change things up a little bit with that Ipswich game in mind. Might get some updates from him on Jorginho and Ricardo Calafiori as well. We're going to talk about Jorginho a little bit. Well, we're going to start the show really talking about him and Thomas Partey and that yellow card that he got right at the end of the Real Madrid game and what that could mean for the next couple of weeks and potentially the first leg against PSG. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Real Madrid as well, and a few other things. But I wanted to start today's show on a little bit of a plea for help, really, because that is what this is. Now, obviously, you guys all watch this on here, you know, my loyal followers, subscribers on YouTube, and thank you so much for all the support you guys give me on here. But I've also got a very strong sort of following for this show, which I put out as a podcast each day as well. So you can either watch it on YouTube, or if you don't want to, you know, you haven't got time to be sitting in front of the screen to watch it, you can also listen to it via podcast while you're on your go. So I put it out as well on all the usual podcast platforms. So I've got my Inside Arsenal show here, my Inside Arsenal show on a podcast. And me, being the most stupid person in the entire world, in the aftermath of the win against Real Madrid, in my hurry to try and get to the airport for my morning flight yesterday, was trying to upload my show to podcast, just like I do here every day on YouTube. And I uploaded the wrong audio. It was a day before the show from the day before's audio. And so I needed to delete that to upload the correct audio. And instead of deleting that, I deleted the entire podcast. So 2 years' work gone like that. Inside Arsenal as a podcast now no longer exists. I couldn't, you know, I removed it from my podcast platform provider and it can't come back. It's irreversible. So 2 years of work gone down the drain like that. The old episodes can still get them on Apple and you find them on Spotify, but I can't upload anything new to it. So all of these shows, I can't upload anything new, which obviously was crushing disappointing. Honestly, I felt sick when it sort of dawned on me on what I'd done and the fact there was no reversing it. And yeah, you know, it's a big thing for me, obviously, in terms of my business and everything like that, and living and support my family. So it's a huge blow. And I've launched, so when I got back yesterday, I immediately set up a new podcast so I can continue uploading my sort of audio versions of this show. And so I'm starting from scratch again, basically. All my followers, my thousands of subscribers, followers that I've had, you know, if you've got Inside Arsenal subscribed to via podcast, it's not going to be updating anymore. That one's worthless now, basically. If you want to keep getting updated daily shows from me, you're going to have to follow the new one. Now, I've put the links down into the description of today's video for like Apple, for Spotify, as well, and from Acast, who are my platform providers. Hopefully, they'll get pulled through onto all the other podcast platforms as well very, very soon. The new show will get picked up. But if you do follow, certainly on Apple and Spotify, and you want to continue to get in the shows to your phone every single day downloaded so you can listen to it on the go, you're going to have to subscribe and follow to the new version of the show, which the links are down below. I've put it out on social media as well. I've got fantastic support from it already. I just checked the Apple Sports chart for today, and the new show is actually at number 3 in the chart. I think the only things that are ahead of it is the rest is football and the overlap, and then Inside Arsenal is number 3 ahead of the rest of football, with Gary Lineker and Mickey Richards and everyone. So it's unbelievable the support I've had in 24 hours of you guys subscribing to the new show. But if you haven't yet and you want to get it delivered to your phone every single day, then the links are down below, and you can do that on Apple and Spotify as well. So yeah, sorry for a rambling start to this today's show, but it is pretty important. as well. So I just wanted to flag that up. So you can get down onto the links below in the description, follow them, and subscribe to the show if you want to still get it delivered to your phone every day in podcast form. Right, enough of that. Let's talk about Thomas Partey and the yellow card that he got against Real Madrid. It was the only thing that kind of took the gloss, well, actually nothing took the gloss off what happened on Wednesday night, because it was just the most special night. Honestly, one of the greatest nights I've ever had following Arsenal. But the Thomas Partey booking at the end, right at the end, was such a shame, especially as it was so totally avoidable. He got sucked into that little spat with Dani Ceballos. He fell into the trap and he reacted, and I'm sure he'll feel so disappointed in himself for doing it as well. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see we've all seen Declan Rice's reaction to it. You know, he knew how important a moment that was, and he could see how disappointed he was in Partey for getting sucked into it and saying, look, you're going to be banned, because he is now going to miss the first leg of that game against PSG, which is going to be absolutely crucial. And, he's so important. He was so good over the two legs, Thomas Partey, absolutely brilliant in that number 6 role. And you had Declan Rice playing, just unbelievably in that 8 role. But now with no Thomas Partey, and a lot of this revolves around Jorginho, what Arteta's going to do, because it is a big problem that he's got. Because if you don't have Jorginho and you don't have Thomas Partey, what do you do in that number 6 role? The obvious choice is to move Declan Rice to play as a number 6, but then you're taking him out of the 8 role, where in the last few months he's just performing at the highest quality. But then it also leaves you with the question of what do you then do? How do you fill that gap in the left 8? Mikel Merino, but he's playing up front and he's really important playing up front. And if you play him as the left 8, then you're going to have to bring probably Trossard in and up front. And that completely changed the way that Arsenal have been playing of late and have been getting a lot of success of. Merino 2 assists in the game at the Bernabeu on Wednesday night. He's becoming a revelation in that sort of false 9 role that he's been playing in. So do you really want to take him out of that and then put Trossard up front? I don't think you really do right now. And so what else are you going to do there? If you're not going to, it's really interesting. And I wonder if we're going to see over the next few games in the build up to PSG, Mikel trying a few things out in the Premier League to try and work out, because you could play potentially Miles Lewis-Skelly as the number 6. If Calafiori's fit, Calafiori could come in at left back. You play Miles Lewis-Skelly as a 6. Potentially, I've seen Jurriën Timber mentioned, Ben White mentioned. So there are options. Ideally, Jorginho comes back and he's fit and can just play in 6, and then you can play Rice as an 8. But that doesn't look entirely plausible right now, such was the extent of Jorginho's injury. I don't think it's been ruled out as a possibility entirely yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, we might get an update from Mikel Arteta a little bit later on. A lot of you were getting in touch talking about this. You got Hako at the top there, says buzz in from the game in Madrid, but now it will be very interesting what Mikel does in midfield. Different things have to be tried in the next 2 games. I think there is 5 options alongside Odegaard at 8 and Rice as a 6. Nwaneri in at an 8, not for me. Zinni in at 8, not for me. Marino down to 8 and Trossard, Martinelli up top. Calafiori, if back, at left back, and Miles Lewis-Skelly as an 8. White in at right back. Timber at left back and Miles Lewis-Skelly as an 8. Hopefully Jorginho is fine, but I'm doubtful. I back the team anyways. Let's win this thing. Danny said Timber for Partey, as he's defensively strong and mobile, and if Ben White is fit at right back, should be ideal solution versus PSG. And Courtney says, hi Charles, hypothetical question that been going through my brain. Would you sacrifice the last 10 minutes of that game if it meant Partey being available for PSG? I think him missing is massive. But on the flip side, we'd be missing out on a memorable away win at the Bernabeu. I wouldn't. I'm just thinking about that a little bit more before I give my answer. No, I wouldn't change anything about what happened on Wednesday night. As much as I'm so really disappointed that Thomas Partey has got this booking, and I am a little bit worried about what that means for the PSG game. Winning in the Bernabeu, you just don't get to experience that very often. And Arsenal absolutely deserve to win that game. And I wouldn't have lost any sleep over it. I wouldn't shed any tears over the fact if Arsenal drawn on the night and still won 4-1 on aggregate. But to get the goal that they deserve, to actually win it, to beat Real Madrid home and away, to knock the European champions out 5-1 on aggregate with wins home and away, it just does not happen very often at all. It's a memory that every single person around the world watching will cherish forever, that Martinelli run and goal at the end. I was so delighted he got that goal. So no, I wouldn't, even though, as I said, I am very, very worried about the potential consequences of Partey missing this game, and that how heavily weighted that yellow card could well be. But I'd love to get more of your thoughts on it in terms of what you would do. over the next couple of games, or what will you do against PSG if there is no Jorginho, and of course without Thomas Partey being available for that game? Right, I just wanted to talk about Jakub Kiwior a little bit more now that I'm home and I've sort of got measured my thoughts a little bit more from the ramblings that I produced, I think, in the immediate post-match reaction from the Real Madrid game from the Bernabeu when I did my video for yesterday. I just think he deserves so much credit for what he's done since he's come into the team, Jakub Kiwior, to play the way he has played home and away against Real Madrid when all the spotlight was on him. Everyone was questioning, myself included, whether he would be the area that Madrid would really look to target. I think we all had our concerns about Kiwior coming in when Gabriel got that injury in the game against Fulham. The mood around the stadium immediately afterwards, you could tell everyone was just thinking ahead to Real Madrid and thinking, what are we going to do now? We've lost Gabriel. But the way Kiwior has come in and just performed so well, so confidently against it, he was magnificent, Kiwior, against Madrid in the second leg. The first leg, obviously, he was a little bit nervy early on. There was a couple of things, but once he grew into that game, he was excellent. But the performance he produced, I thought, at the Bernabeu was just superb. If there was one of the two centre backs who was nervy, it was Saliba, not Kiwior, and that just says an awful lot for what he produced. So I think he deserves an awful lot of credit. Look, this might be his swan song. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes in the summer. I think basically that decision is going to be down to Jakub Kiwior. If he does want to go and get the sort of minutes that you would imagine him, an international defender at his age, would now crave and need, quite frankly, and he says he wants to go, then I think Arsenal would probably look to facilitate that move. I think this little run he's had in the side now, between now and the end of the season, is going to do wonders for his value as well when it comes to negotiating table. If Arsenal if he does want to go and Arsenal do agree to letting him leave, and I think it's going to do wonders for the negotiations. The fact that, look, he's been in the team, look how he's playing against Real Madrid in the latter stages of the Champions League. You're not going to get him on the cheap. And that would bring in some good money for Arsenal then, because if he does go, you think they're going to have to replace him. And obviously, he's been linked with various defenders at the moment as well. So if it is his swan song, then what a way to go out for Jakub Kiwior, who, he's always he's been seen as a decent enough signing since he came in at Arsenal, but always kind of viewed a little bit as the weak link, which I don't think is to do with him per se. I think it's just when you've got your two centre-backs with such quality of Gabriel and Saliba, of course, when one of them's out, there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off in quality. And I think the way that Kiwior is viewed is probably because of that. But he is capable of producing some excellent performances. He's done that in the past. He's doing it right now. And in fact, he's in his actual natural position. I think he plays a lot better alongside Saliba than he does alongside Gabriel, which is just, it's not rocket science. He's playing in his natural position there. He's not playing as a sort of right-sided centre-back or anything like that. But I think he can be really, really proud of himself. I'm sure he is. The players I know really respect him. That David Raya said at his press conference in Madrid, anyway, when he was asked if he was surprised at how Kiwior was playing, he said no, because I know how good he is. So it's great to see. Fair play. We're going to need him between now and the end of the season as well, of course. And long may these performances continue. So I just wanted to say a couple of nice words about Jakub Kiwior. Right, just in terms of the actual team itself, really, I think what we saw at the Bernabeu on Wednesday night is a team that can win the Champions League. I don't think there's any doubt in that now. This team is ready to win the Champions League. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but it is ready. You don't go and beat Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate, beat them home and away, knock them out, knock the reigning champions out if you're not ready to win the Champions League. They can win it. They're in the last four. They're playing a team in a semi-final that they've already beaten this season. Yes, Barcelona or Inter Milan would be difficult in the final. Inter Milan have obviously beaten Arsenal already this season. It's the one sort of little blot they've got in their copybook when it comes to the Champions League this season. But I still think they played well enough on that day to beat Inter Milan at San Siro. It just didn't happen for them in front of goal. But I just think that performance that we saw, it was just so... I've seen it, I think I was reading Gunnar Blog's reaction on The Athletic, and he called it a coming of age sort of moment. And it was just that moment. This isn't a young team anymore. This is a team that is absolutely ready to win. Obviously, it hasn't happened for them in the Premier League for multiple reasons, for some of their own, a lot of it's their own doing. Certainly the hierarchy and the squad they left themselves with and the areas they didn't cover and left themselves short, and they were punished for that. And there's also been, bad decisions, injuries, whatever. So it hasn't happened from in the Premier League. But there's no doubt from what I've seen in the Champions League this season, not just at the Bernabeu, but throughout the Champions League this season, that this team is good enough to go on and win this trophy. Again, I'm not saying they are, but this isn't just a young team anymore. Now, I'm absolutely convinced of it. It's a team that is ready, absolutely ready to win. And every single other side in Europe would have stood up and took notice of what Arsenal have done against Madrid, but in the Champions League as well. They're absolutely ready. Mikel, on the sort of what the result can give Arsenal, when he said the feeling we have is our reality, basically, and it's a feeling that I had before the game when the players were transmitting and how prepared I could feel the team, that we are now ready to compete against anybody. Now we have to continue to do that because I think we have some momentum now. And that's the thing. I think they genuinely believe now. And when I say, Arsenal ready to win the Champions League, I think mentally, maybe in their heads last season, they didn't really believe it. It was their first season back in a competition. I think when they came up against Munich, when the chips were down a little bit, they just didn't have it in them to turn it round. I don't think there was that belief there mentally that they could turn it around. I think that is absolutely there now. And as Mikel says, I think they feel that they can compete against anybody. I saw that video in the tunnel before they went out to the warm up, and you had Odegaard gearing them up, and then as they all walked out to start their warm up, Declan Rice just was heard screaming, "There's nothing to fear." And I thought that was a really interesting line from Rice to deliver just as they were walking out onto the pitch to the Bernabeu, the home of the 15 times European champion. You got Arsenal player there standing there saying, "There's nothing to fear here, lads." And I genuinely think they believe that. I think they'll go into that PSG game with so much confidence on if Arsenal can go from challengers to winners. Mikel said it's another massive step where we finished last year, and the way we're doing it this year, the teams with their eyes on us in the competition, it's incredible. Big credit to Madrid. It was my first time as a coach in that dugout today, and I realised after 3 minutes in the stadium, anything is possible. They are specialists of creating so much chaos and belief. It's very difficult to understand really what's going on in the game and have certainty about how we controlled it. I think they showed a lot of maturity. And again, it was such an overriding thing from the game for me, was because I can't begin, if you weren't there, I can't begin to describe how loud it was in there early on. And you could tell the Madrid fans expected the turnaround, the comeback. They absolutely did. There was not a doubt in their mind that they weren't going to come back and win this game. And it was so intense. It was so loud. And yet Arsenal just weren't bothered by it at all. And I think that, again, goes back to the sort of coming of age stuff and the fact that they believe in themselves now. This is a team that can go to the biggest of stadiums, the most historic of stadiums, where there's just this aura of, it doesn't matter what happens, we're going to win, that comes with Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. And yet Arsenal were just like, nah, not today, boys. It's not happening. This is our night. This is our night. We're better than you. We believe we're better than you, and we're going to show we're better than you. And they did. And it was just the biggest thing I took from that game, other than the absolute joy and ecstasy of the victory, was just this team knows it can win this competition now. And again, I'm not saying they're going to, but they know they can. And they're very, very close. And that is bloody exciting. The next 2 weeks are going to go very, very slowly. They really, really are. Right, I just wanted to share some of your reaction to the game, because I wasn't able to do it on yesterday's show because I recorded it obviously immediately after the full-time whistle from the Bernabeu, because I was flying out so early in the morning. So I just wanted to share some of the joy and some of the messages that you had sent, as I wasn't able to do it yesterday. So Beverly says, "Well, we did it again. Maybe, just maybe, this is our time, and I hope we face Barcelona in the final and get our revenge for the last time we faced them." KB says, 2 assists for Marino. What stats is he going to end up with? Wow, I mean, brilliant for Marino. Fantastic for Marino. That pass for the first goal was just superb for Saka. The second one as well, not just the pass, but the touch, the way he brought that out of control from the clearance from the corner, or the cross that came in. Martinelli's run, by the way, when you actually look at that video, he starts basically on the edge of his own penalty area in the 93rd minute at the Bernabeu, and he just goes. The desire to get forward, to score, to have his big Bernabeu moment was unbelievable. I'm so happy he scored that goal. Sea Lord says, the what's away in Europe curse is broken. That's a real remontada. Yes, indeed. Thank you to all of you who sent the messages in saying the curse is broken. You'll probably be happy to know, I think that might be my last European trip. I'm not going to go to Paris, and I'm not going to go to the final, I don't think, because if Arsenal get to the final, by the way, that's if Arsenal gets to the final. I'm not saying they will, but if they get to the final, I'm going to want to watch it with my dad, and I don't think he'll be going over for that. So I won't be going to Munich, I don't think, because if Arsenal win the Champions League, I certainly want to be sat next to my dad when they do it. So I don't think I'll be there. So you won't have to worry about the away curse anymore this season in Europe. But it is broken anyway, thanks to what happened on Wednesday night. Storm says, got to hold my hands up. I didn't think Kiwior could do it. He was fantastic after the first 5 minutes in the first leg. Yes, indeed, he was. Couple more here before we wrap this one up. Tay says, Charles, congrats on breaking your European away curse. Must be nice to have that off your mind going forward. What a night for the Arsenal. Another complete team performance that every single player can be proud of. Curious at what point you let yourself believe the remontada was not on and what the mood inside the Bernabeu was like in the second half onto the semis. I tell you what, after about 20 minutes, I never really thought Real were going to trouble Arsenal. I think had that penalty been given and not reversed, then I think I probably would have been a little bit worried. But it was just very apparent, I thought, on the pitch that Arsenal were better than them. And that you could see, certainly in the second half, Madrid visibly shrank and Arsenal grew. You could see Arsenal were just... They knew that Madrid had nothing to hurt them in that second half. You could see it. And so I was very, very calm during the second half. Obviously, if something would have happened to turn the game on its head, if there'd been a red card or something like that, or, if Madrid had managed to fight, if Saliba's error had come at 0-0 rather than already at 1-0, maybe I'd have been worried at that point. But as the game wore on, when you're sort of watching the game, you just never felt threatened. I just thought Arsenal were better than them on all areas of the pitch. Elizabeth said, great win. I hope you enjoyed your trip. So happy for Martinelli. He worked his socks off, thoroughly deserved that goal. And Mr. Declan Rice, there aren't enough words. To this day, I still pinch myself that he plays for our club. So easily could have gone to City, but he chose us in the project and he's been worth every penny. I left my office early on Tuesday and today so I could watch the game from home. I'm telling my boss first thing in the morning. I'll be doing that again in 2 weeks. Come on, you Gunners. Finally, Cathal says, hi, Charles. Notice you were in the press box tonight. What a night in performance. Quick question. How do you keep yourself together in there? Can you celebrate? Because when Martinelli ran through, I'm sure it was difficult to control your emotions. It is difficult. Yeah, it is. I felt sorry for Simon Collins at the standard, who was next to me, who I think I grabbed his arm very, very hard when Bukayo Saka scored to try and sort of stop myself from jumping up. I ended up grabbing Simon's arm and doing it. There was a few fist pumps going on as it goes on, but, I'm used to it now. I know that I can't really stand up and do what I'd do if I was in the away end, but there was a few little fist pumps going on anyway. So, yeah, that's it. That's it from me today, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies for the big 5-minute sort of plea at the start, but it is really, really important. And it is very scary that I've managed to lose such a key part of my business for me being totally, totally stupid. So, yeah, if you could support that, if you could, please go and subscribe and follow the podcast. If you got Apple or Spotify, or try and find it on your podcast platform, it's the same. It's Inside Arsenal with Charles Watts. That's all it's called. Go and find it if you can. Follow it, subscribe it. I'd really, really appreciate it because I've got to try and get it growing back pretty quickly. It is very, very important. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, everyone. I'll be back potentially later, actually, after Mikel's press conference. If I can. It's half term. I've got the kids at the moment, so it's a bit of a struggle. But if I do find some time, I will try and come back after the press conference to do another one later on today. If not, I'll be with you in the morning tomorrow to do it all over again. Have a good one. Enjoy your Friday nights, everyone. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.